Holla ballers, my name's Preach, and today we begin the journey into FF13. We have been on a long road of playing every single player FF for the first time. I did not investigate or dive into the Final Fantasy franchise until after Final Fantasy 14, which was only about a year or so ago. And here we are with only 13 and 5 remaining, and we're going to track every day, track our thought process, track what we think, and how our opinion changes and develops over the course of playing through FF13. FF13, I'm not going to lie, is one of those that people have been both extremely excited about and dreading, especially my live audience, because they hate it. They absolutely hate it. I don't know why. And my audience is very good about knowing I want to be kept in the dark, so my opinion is unbiased as possible. But on this one, those odd random viewers that are in there who don't really get that are just like, dude, FF13 is the worst. So I'm like, okay, let's leave it there. But I would say, out of all the Final Fantasies, and every time we bring up a Final Fantasy game, there's always a war about which one is best. But seemingly, universally agreed by a lot of people, is 13 is the worst. Now, after playing 15, which was another controversial game, and having a really good time and a very frustrating and bitter time with 15, which we did recently, I was very excited to get to 13. What is the fuss all about? Who is Lightning? Why is Lightning such a big deal? This is what I'm genuinely excited to find out. What is all the fuss about? Like, let's find out, because people said they hated 12. I loved 12. I had a great time with 12. So here we go, my friends. Booting the game up, got a lovely... First thing that stands out here is the cutscenes are phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. They're some of the best I've seen, genuinely. Like, they're really good. Like, they're not quite at 16, obviously. 16 is just a spectacle beyond our spectacle. But for what's considered to be an older game, they're crystal clean, at least on PC. I will be playing this through Steam. And I'm not using the FF13 fix, whatever it does, yet, because I want to see what the base game is first. A lot of people are like, you have to do this. Often when I hear you have to do this, you don't, and so far I don't. So I might continue at base. I might use a fix until I find a problem that needs a fix. I'm going to leave it as is. Now, it's not a great PC port. That's an apparent thing straight away. And there's no volume sliders. There's no way of changing voice to music or anything like that. There's no audio controls whatsoever. The input controls are based on either a PlayStation or keyboard. I use an Xbox One controller, so often it's just blank. You may see this occasionally pop up in the footage. Is during the tutorials, it's trying to tell you what to press, and there's just no button listed at all, which is very strange. So it's a case of just clicking all the buttons to find out which one does what, which is fine. So a little cutscene of, and I'm always trying to piece together what's going on from the first cutscene. It's trying to set the scene for us, right? In any video game, like, what is going on? And you could say in FF15, we're clearly the prince. We're going on some sort of journey to see our wife, and we break down, and you feel the connection with the boys immediately. Wonderful, nice start. Final Fantasy VI. Wonderful. We have a mind-controlled character being forced to do something bad by Biggs and Wedge. We're storming a city where we're clearly not welcome. And we break a magical crystal, which causes all hell to break loose. Nice, simple. We've got the setting for our game. Okay. What is the start of FF13? Yeah. Okay. I think I've got it, right? Before we even get into the characters, FF13 already is just like, hey, have you got a bucket of just words that we'll just throw at the player? Let me just pour that all over your head. L'Cie. Why they decided to go with the phrase L'Cie, I don't know. But the fallacy, haha. If you, okay. Whew. There is a place called Pulse and a place called the Cocoon. And the people in the Cocoon believe that if you have had any contact with somebody from Pulse, you are now filthy and corrupted and bad and need to be expunged from Cocoon. So we are some of those people who believe to have had a connection with the Pulse, or the place known as Pulse, and are being evacuated, forced migration out of Cocoon. We're on the train where we're basically, we're being, we're refugees who are being kicked out of our own homes. But that's all a facade, because instead of actually bothering to send you back to Pulse, they're just going to kill everybody. And the reason this is happening is because they found a giant artifact near Cocoon called the fallacy, something like that. There's this giant, almost, it looks like diamond weapon or something along those lines. People have been near it, and this thing creates l'Cies. And if you are chosen to be a l'Cie, you then get a brief premonition of what is called your focus. And if you complete the focus that the l'Cie has set you, even though it's not clear what that focus is, it's based on the sort of minimal image the l'Cie gives you, or the fallacy, whatever. You turn to crystal and gain eternal life, which seems counterintuitive, because apparently you have eternal life, yet you are frozen in place as a crystal, which sounds terrible. If you don't complete your focus, you turn into a ghoul. And you also get a tattoo, meaning that you're a l'Cie, which means you're corrupted because you've been touched by the l'Cie, because you're either going to be a ghoul or a crystal or whatever, and that means you're terrible and you want to get away. And this is like a religion that these are dirty, corrupt people, and you need to keep away from them, and so on. And that's generally what's going on. But the game started out with Lightning and Saz. Lightning is so cool. Oh my god, she's so cool. She's very cool. Very, very cool. Oh my god. Like, she's flipping and she's jumping off mountains, and she's so cool. It's very much... It's kind of got... I'm memeing a little bit because that is clearly what they're going for. It's like a 13-year-old's vision of what the coolest thing in the world is lightning. And it's just like, at my age and the age of most of our audience, it's like, that is hilarious because it's so bad. Yeah, I'll save everybody. Oh god, I'm moving forward. I'm skipping characters. And then Saz is the obvious comic relief. His hair is literally a nest. I'm not sure if this is racist or not, but it's literally a nest. It houses a chocobo. So I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, honestly. I really don't. And Lightning, for some reason, we don't know why at the time, Lightning is on the train. She's being taken to the massacre, and she breaks free because she's so badass, and she's got a folding scissor sword. And she's out, and she's going to kick ass. And Saz is like, I better come with you because you look like you know what you're doing, so I'm going to stick by you. And I've got a pair of guns because I'm also kind of cool as well, but I'm more like comedy. And so far, for sure, is one of my favorite characters. And then they play through, and it teaches you the combat of the game, which I actually quite liked. I'm very surprised. For now, I'm very surprised that they really, really want to keep the ATB system in some form or another. And they advanced the FF12 system. If you would have asked me what system would have been dropped from FF12 to 13, it would have been the, like, queued commands coding style of gameplay, because it's very, very disorientating, and it has, like, auto battle features, which a lot of people didn't like. They prefer, like, taking their time, picking their turn, even if, for the most part, they're doing the same thing over and over again. People really like making those choices, especially in the hard battles. Here, they've done the next evolution of the FF12 system. So they're really trying to keep that old school ATB weight system, but still give it the modern edge. So the way they've done it this time around is, so far, has a lot of potential. I'm not going to say it's great right now, but it has a lot of potential. Where you have sort of points to spend for the bar that constantly fills up, so an ATB bar that fills up, and then you can choose what to do with it. You can either queue up a more expensive attack that will require 2 gauges of ATB, so that'll be like a cleave, like blitz or grenade, or you could stack 2 melee attacks and you can focus on them. And then they've added in a lot of cinematics, but one thing that was very cool in a Chrono Trigger style is the positioning of the enemies during the battle is relevant. If you put out like a blitz AoE, but the enemies are kind of spread, it won't work. It's a waste of time. You have to like pick and choose the position. So if you get 4 enemies and one's in the middle, AoEing that one will cleave everything around it. Good use of your time. So there's some little bit of strategy going on here, at least in the early stages. Thankful for that. I loved that in Chrono Trigger. It's like, well, their positioning's not quite right, so we're not going to hit all the enemies with this great attack. We have to focus a little bit. It's very fast-paced. Love this. It's not a case of like auto battle in FF12 where you set them going and you can put it on hyperspeed and just kind of wait for the battle to be over. you have to pay attention. You have to see what's going on. You have to know that to change your strategies. I'll AoE twice. This one's hit stagger where they take bonus damage, and then I'll focus damage into that one. And I also got punished quite heavily because of the speed of the combat, at least in the early game, is like when you should potion. Because if you start potioning and they're on 25% health, if you've like already spam queued your abilities, which you can queue 2 of at the time, then you won't get the potion off in time because your character's already assigned to do something else. So you've got to be careful of that. You've got to pick and choose. This combat system has a lot of potential. It's very lackluster at the start because you only have like an AoE spell and normal attack. But other than that, it's fine. One thing I loved was the environments early on. It is very linear. At least for now, like it's very, very linear. There's a little bit of exploration, but it's like FF7 remake exploration, which is like, it's a corridor with like a sideway, but not really. One thing I did like is that you can sneak up on enemies by walking into the back of them, and this gives you a preemptive strike, which does significant amounts of damage and makes fights considerably quicker. One thing I could definitely do without so far in the combat system, and I think is the worst thing, is the score screen at the end of every single battle. Like, that's massively unnecessary, and if the fix for this game removes that, I'd be so happy, because I don't care. It's like 2 screens after every battle, and sometimes you're doing back-to-back battles. It gets obnoxious really quick. I don't mind the actual going into the fight. That's normal in every FF game, but this, besides like 15... But this one's just, the scoring screen at the end is just annoying. Like, what am I supposed to do about it? Like, I don't... I can't go back in time and change the score or whatever. Like, surely if I was safe scoring every fight, which I'm not doing. But one thing I noticed later on in the first time we played is that you could skip a lot of fights. Like, if the enemy doesn't physically touch you, they might notice you and chase after you, but if they don't physically touch you, your fight's not engaged. You can run past them. That's kind of cool. I'm not fleeing particularly. I'm just dodging past enemies that are located in a way that you can run past them. And then they have mandatory fights towards the end. Totally fine. And then they give you some fogs, I think they called them, which give you some different opportunities in battle. So if you can use like Decepticon juice, called something like that, then you initiate with a preemptive strike because you snuck in under the cloud of darkness, and you get a big advantage on difficult fights. Thumbs up. So combat system so far, fine. I've just unlocked the, I'm going to get the name of it wrong, but you basically change the stances of the team. So you can go from like, because you don't control the other members of the team, which, yeah, I wish I could. I like making those choices and building those characters independently. Is you can have them like be offensive, or you can change them into a more of a defensive posture where one of them will default to being a healer and another one will try and tank for you. And then you can swap them on the fly during the fight. So I've only just got that, so it'll be more of a discussion for tomorrow as to how that system develops. And now, let's talk about the characters then. So, I have a feeling I'm going to have a great time with this because these characters are so ridiculous. So ridiculous. And they are really pushing the boat out. First things first. Lightning is very cool. Doesn't have much else going on, but Lightning is on a hunt to find her sister Sarah. Saz is just along for the ride right now. And we fight our way through something, Hanging Edge, I think it was called, is the city. It looks like the inside of a bar cube. Again, the environments are very cool. We're fighting our way through there to find Sarah. That's the story, with a lot of very cool things going on with Lightning. Then it swaps to... I'm going to leave him for a second. Let's talk about Hope and Vanilla. Hope and Vanilla. Okay, so Hope is a young boy, and due to the actions of a character we'll talk about in a minute, who is my hero and everybody else's, has just witnessed the death of his mother, and he's now an orphan. And he's very distressed about this, and he wants to tell this character that, you know, I blame you for the death of my mother. Vanilla is the girl who's along for the ride, who I don't know how old Vanilla's supposed to be, because they clearly make some like sexual pointers towards her. For example, when we are about to get touched by the lassie that was brought into the building, and we all get a really cool tattoo, everybody's is mostly on their wrist or forearm or something like that. Hers is like on her lower butt cheek, upper thigh. And she like lifts her skirt up to show it. And I was like, dude, what? Because she looks about 5, man. I'm like, this is messed up. And I think someone's like, she's technically 18 or whatever. I'm like, okay, sure, dude. Or 21, I think she's supposed to be. But she, I don't like at all. But she's Australian. but dressed with like a Native American Indian sort of style. I thought it was Wilma Flintstone at first because I just saw this like tanned sort of like tan leather skirt thing. I was like, is this Wilma Flintstone? She looks like got this caveman vibe, and then nope, she's like got this Native American Indian sort of fashion sense with an Australian accent. I'm like, okay, I mean, the accent doesn't bother me. It's just the whole package is very, very odd. But she's a cool character. She's a really cool character. Like, she's the glue kind of pushing things forward. She's just, like, cheery and happy and, like, hey, let's get on with things. Like, she doesn't like downtime. I'm like, all on board with her. However, this is the worst running animation I have ever seen in my life. And I don't want to speak on behalf of women, but I would be so offended. I would be like, what in the heck? Is that supposed to be, like, a feminine run? Have you ever looked at a race, for example, and seen women running? Because this is just absurd. Like, her joints are so messed up. Whoever animated this and drew this is a criminal. A criminal, because it is the only... I have seen... if I was to do the top 2 worst running animations of female characters, she is now number 1. She is now dethroned the lady from the Scissorman game, the modern one. And I can't remember what the game itself is called because they couldn't use the name Scissorman in it, or Clock Tower. It's called something else. It takes place on a ship, but she had the most ridiculous... It's very similar to this. The most ridiculous, like... I don't know. Like, is it supposed to be cleaning like a kitchen? It's that offensive. This hand motion, it's so bizarre. But when she started running, as you get to play her, it was so bizarre. And she also has the most insane weapon ever that fires like high tensile springs out, like Pinhead from Hellraiser. It's very, very unusual. But as a character, I like her a lot. Hope, I don't really care for. He's got that Vaughn vibe. Little bitch. Like, he's always crying and whinging. I know his mum just died, but he is really a bit of a pussy about the whole thing. And then he wants to cry at our hero of the hour, Snow. Oh, he's so cool. Oh my god, he's our hero, you know. So cool. It's snow time. This guy, I am going to look forward to every time Snow is on the screen because I just want him to open his mouth and say something, because he's going to say something so cool. Oh my god. Like, I was seriously worried that all our female viewers were going to get pregnant. I was like, I need to put a warning on the stream. Like, you need to be careful. If you come in here and you're not using some sort of birth control, you might be in danger because Snow's around, right? And when the storm comes, it's a snowstorm, right? What an absolutely absurd character. Again, it's seemingly what a 13-year-old would think. I wish I was like Snow. And the game is targeted teenagers, so I'm glad they toned it down a little bit in the future. When Noctis and Co are the mature ones, you know you've made a goof. You know you've made a goof. Continuing then, we do go to the Lassie. We all eventually meet up and find Sarah. Sarah has been chosen, and she's very weak, but seemingly she completes her focus and turns into a crystal and gains eternal life under the guise of the fallacy. I forget the name of the damn thing. Which is obviously devastating because Snow and Sarah were about to get married, and Sarah's Lightning's sister, and Lightning and Snow don't like each other, and Dawson is really upset with Joey, and Pacey doesn't know what's going on, and Ross and Rachel are breaking up. It's very, very 90s sitcom drama. And I'm totally on board with it. It's going to be a goofy, wild ride. I know it's just going to get so insane. If anything is going to demonstrate this more than I've explained to you now, it is the cutscene of Snow and Sarah's engagement night, where he asks her to marry him. And again, Sarah, once again, I don't know what it is with these characters because people are like checking wikis to find out their age, but to me, Sarah looks like she's 12. Certainly next to Snow, who I'm guessing is about 7'12". Something ridiculous like that. And then takes her on his flying bike ride and flies her into a fireworks display, which nearly kills them, all for their love. And keeps it. It's just... I'm in for a ride. I'm in for a ride. I'm smiling from ear to ear. It's going to be a great time. Really cool, though, is that the Fallacy, whatever, is Anima. Great to see Anima back. Love Anima. Great character. They actually represented super well. Love the model they gave this. I like the tech vibe so far. As a sci-fi fan, I really like the tech vibe, and I loved that we got Anima back, and Anima wasn't just, like, ridiculous. Anima is kind of scary and badass. So I'm assuming all these artifacts, I assume there's more of them in the world, will contain... I actually was like, Alexander would fit in perfectly here, so I'm really expected to see Alexander in some amazing way. The same with the rest of them, because I've seen in the intro, it does kind of show that Shiva is around. So I'm really looking forward to these sort of like tech versions of our gods and primals, of what they're going to come out as. So that's very cool. So following this, then, we all get marked. We've all been given a focus, which seemingly is to save Cocoon, despite the fact that they wanted to massacre us. That appears to be our focus. And if we don't do that, we'll turn to ghouls. And if we do that, we turn to crystals. Neither of which seems like a winning option from what I could tell so far. But after mass destruction, millions dead... There's so many explosions in this game, at least in the first couple of hours that we played. We're now beginning our journey as a team. And we've unlocked talents and things like that, and skill trees. Kind of an advancement on the sphere grid from 10 is what I'm looking at, but much more condensed version of that. So, actually, it's more like 12. This feels like, yeah, this feels like, at least combat-wise, an advancement of 12. But so far, I am into it. I am into it. That may change like it did with 15, but I'll keep you informed. All right, guys? Love you. See you later.